Yeah, so welcome to the political perspective with myself, Reggie AKA SpeedinBullet, and my man B. Three explanation points. Always remember, if you are not political, you do not have a perspective. So, first thing I wanted to talk about was the SNAP benefits. That is something that is on everyone's mind. Whether or not you receive SNAP benefits, you're probably concerned about how people are going to be able to feed their families because I'm assuming that most people have a heart. So even if you are not a recipient, you know that this is affecting a lot of people. So we all know about the government shutdown. Government has been shut down since October 1st, and now it has passed into November 1st, which means that a lot of these federal programs are not going to be funded. And SNAP was one of those programs that was due to not be funded starting on November 1st. Now, there was a court ruling on Friday that two federal judges ordered the Trump administration to use its available emergency contingency funds to continue to pay for the SNAP benefits. The judges ruled that the administration acted unlawfully in trying to withhold these funds. What does that really mean? Right? Because it's the first of the month, right? We all know that this would be a time where folks will be receiving some SNAP benefits. And as of right now, the reports are that these benefits, although the courts have stepped in, are still going to be delayed. That there is a process that has to go through in order for those funds to actually be sent out to the people who are the recipients of SNAP. It's also within the court ruling, the Trump administration's kind of response. And I think it's interesting when we hear and we see these court rulings to kind of, do a little bit of research to kind of see like how courts came to these decisions, but also to understand that the Trump administration, they sent lawyers to kind of defend this, right? So they were sued, and Trump lawyers had to defend why they could not release the SNAP funds. And
Right.
one of the reasons that they gave was they did not consider people not receiving SNAP funds as being an emergency. And the courts did not agree with that.
Right.
They agreed that people not receiving SNAP benefits, it obviously is an emergency. But that was their argument, that this is not an emergency. And I think that if you've been following the Trump administration this time out, the only emergencies are the ones that they declare emergencies, and this is just another kind of example of that. So one of the questions that the Trump administration had for the courts is, can the court kind of explain to them how is it that they can move these funds around? So this is going to kind of delay these funds being released while the court has to kind of sort through how these funds can actually be sent to the recipient. So it doesn't look like it's going to be something that is going to happen within the next couple of days.
Right.
But according to the courts, the Trump administration does have to release these funds.
Yeah.
Like I said, we don't really know when that's going to happen. So we will have to kind of stay tuned with that. But it's clear that people are not going to get the benefits that they are normally used to getting. And possibly if they do get benefits, it would be, less than what they're used to receiving. So hopefully, anyone that's having any issues, that they have, some folks within their circle that can help out with making sure that, that they're able to feed their families, and, different programs, churches, and just the generosity of people.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can tap into that.
Yeah, I did notice that some of yes, the food banks and some of the actual apps that we use to order food, GoPuff in particular, DoorDash even announced something as far as doing things to help SNAP benefit recipients. Y'all can look that up and see what those benefits are. I did want to ask you, Reggie, just your gut, like, how does this end? Like, what do you, well, not how does it end? What do you think the overall goal is with this administration with SNAP? Do you think they just want to their goal ultimately is to get rid of it completely or alter it to a point where, like, what do you think the goal is?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that the goal is to get rid of Snap completely.
Okay.
And there has been so many cuts to Snap, throughout the years, and even in Trump's big beautiful bill, there were cuts to Snap.
Mm,
There's already precedent from the Republicans that they are going to try to just trim as much from Snap as possible. But I think ultimately they would like for the SNAP benefits to go away completely. I think
mm,
that that's just a part of the Republican kind of plan of less government, less social safety nets, as there's, as they're called. And for whatever reason, it just feels like the Republicans just have a bit of a cynical way of looking at the citizens in the United States. I mean, when you talk about just wanting to erode a lot of those social safety net programs that are out there, it's just
yeah.
unfortunate. That's what it appears, that they're just kind of chopping away as they see fit.
Yeah, I just want people to also pay attention to, the lingo or the talk had been cutting the deficit, and pay attention to the fact that there have been a bunch of programs cut and funds for existing programs cut. However, the deficit is increasing. I just want you to ask yourselves, where's that money going? What else you got, Reggie?
Yeah, so a couple of things that we got going. I mean, Trump is just came back from his Asia trade trip, where
Yes.
Trump visited a bunch of Asian countries. He visited Malaysia, Japan, South Korea, and obviously China. The biggest takeaway is that the United States and China has came to a bit of a trade truce, where and I don't really even call it a truce, because it was more of like a one way like trade battle. It was really Trump and his tariff. We're gonna 120%, and just his random numbers that he just came up with,
Right.
uh, to just throw out there, and to just really, in my opinion, just to kind of manipulate the market. And if you see how people made a lot of money based on the uncertainty of the tariffs. But what's interesting about it is you realize during this trip that as much as Trump, talks just shit about everybody, including China, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to sitting down with people, Trump, he got his hands folded. He ain't the same Trump as he is here as he
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
And it makes you kind of wonder, like, what's really going on. Is his rhetoric just something to get people riled up? And he's calling over to China's president and saying, whatever you hear, don't worry about that. Because you don't go from like China is our biggest adversary there, to like, how they portray China when they talk about China to the American people. You would think that we don't have relations with them at all, that we
Yeah.
wouldn't sit down, almost like they're like a terrorist country, like the way they talk about how bad China is. And you see that when it's time for the rubber to meet the road, you have to actually talk to people, and you have to make decisions for the entire country. And I just think it's just interesting that Trump isn't Trump when he's over there standing next to a counterpart.
In other words, Debo be like, shut the fuck up. I do. But when he leave, I'll be talking again.
Yeah, and what I think is absolutely fascinating is Trump can go to China and all of these Asian countries, and he can come up with trade deals and sit down and talk to these folks. he can, in his words, stop all of these wars, and he was instrumental in stopping the Israel Hamas war.
Mm-hmm.
However, he cannot fix the government being shut down. How is that even possible? That you can do all these things, but you cannot step in order to get this fixed. And
I'm
it
glad we're here.
yeah, and it really shows you what it really shows you that his goal is not for the American people. Because you can negotiate with terrorists, but you can't govern within your own country. It seems absolutely ridiculous.
I don't think that, and this might be crazy to say, but I don't think that the goal is to stop the government from being shut down. I think it's really interesting the unity and messaging from everyone from that side of the administration. The primary goal has been to, whatever question is asked, see how you can blame Democrats. Everything that's said as far as the government being shut down and why the shutdown is taking so long has been radical leftists, or the Democrats are not doing X to promote Y. It's just very, very interesting to watch unfold in real time that this is the thing that's happening, to the point where, no, you don't, I don't think you are trying to get the government to not be shut down. You just want to have the Democrats be the bad guys in hopes of political gain in the future, favorable political gain in the future. That's my observation of it, of just watching the things that are being said. Like, they're openly not answering questions that are directly asked, to just say, no, the Democrats are doing this. I saw an interview. They asked him something recently, and he said, I don't even know, was it Trump? I can't remember, but the question was about, I can't even remember what the question was about, but they went back to Obama, and then Biden was not was irresponsible, or just not smart enough to know that he was getting played by accident. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? We're talking about something that's happening right now, and you're blaming Obama and then Biden for, like, what are you talking about? So
Yeah,
it's just
and
interesting.
yeah, it's definitely interesting. And we could spend a whole lot of time on the government shutdown, because
Yeah.
it really is interesting that the last shutdown that we had was under Trump,
Yeah.
and it's just ironic that Trump's brand of leadership equals these types of stalemates in government. And just to kind of let people understand how it works is, the Constitution is written in a way where you have to have what's called a supermajority in order for the Senate to pass a bill, right? So most people know that it's 100 seats in the Senate, and it normally fluctuates. Someone might, a Republican may have 52, Democrats may have 48, or somewhere around that number. However, you need 60 in order to pass a bill.
Yeah.
So the reason why this was created, in my opinion, by the forefathers, the people that created the Constitution, was to make sure that people work together, and to make sure that it was not just one party making all of the decisions. Even if that party has the majority, still it creates a scenario where you have to work together in order to get to that 60. And I believe that's how governing should work. That you should have not just 51, because that's not, because now you're really kind of putting the whole country is decided just by one vote, one person.
Yeah.
And I think that when you say 60 votes is needed, that is more closer to closer to a majority than just one person. But that just means that our politicians need to work together.
Yeah.
And they normally do work together. It's really just under Trump that they don't work together. I mean, it's normally, people have, and I've been saying this a lot, that it feels like under Trump, all of the Republicans share the same brain. And they
Yeah.
say the same thing over and over again. They say the same thing over and over again. And they never really answer questions about what the topic really is. And the topic is real simple. It's about ACA subsidies. That's what it's about. They'll say that it's about immigrants receiving health care. They'll pivot to all kinds of ridiculous reasons, but they'll never, ever really talk about the main reason, which is the ACA subsidies. And one of the things that they say is, let's just sign the bill and then we'll work out the subsidies. Who in this Trump world thinks that that's going to happen?
No.
I mean, no one. I mean, no one at all. And if it's that simple, then just sign it and then we got you. But that would be too much like I said, too much like people actually working together. But under Trump, it just seemed like that is just a no-go. That's just a no-go under Trump.
I do want to shout out the government employees that are still acting with integrity, going to work, not getting a check. I know that's a tough thing to do, not from personal experience, just having to imagine going to work for a month and not getting a paycheck and just hoping that eventually it comes to an end and you'll get your back pay. Um, Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas coming up. I don't know if there's been any talks that would give any hope to the government shutdown coming to an end anytime soon. This is a mess, and I do want to shout out those employees who are continue to act with integrity and do their job, and yeah, provide the service that they were hired to do. Shout out to y'all.
I mean, and that has to be rough.
Yeah.
To work and to not get paid. Like, that's like, you can't even really imagine that.
No.
I mean, and if ever anyone has ever missed an hour from off of their check and how annoying it is.
Right. An hour. Right.
Yeah, just an hour. I get phone calls and texts all day.
An
hour. And we're talking about whole paychecks.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. They got to get it together.
Yeah, I got two sisters, government employees. They're not having the best of time. So shout out to them.
But I also think it's important to note that although government workers are not being paid, construction is still going on in the White House.
Yes.
So we've all seen the pictures of the east wing of the White House being demolished, which really upset a lot of people.
A lot of people
upset Black people because of just our we don't really care. But it upset a lot of people. Most notably, Chelsea Clinton was very upset.
Really, what she said? I didn't see her comment.
Yeah, she posted something on X, just about just really like the eroding of history and just how someone would be able to just do that just haphazardly without even any oversight. She was very just very upset and vocal about her disagreement with the renovations. And it's also funny that you'll see a lot of Republican MAGA talking heads will say something like, Obama did renovations that cost. Well, they'll say Obama did renovations. He added a basketball court that cost $300 million. You'll see that floating around there. And for anybody that has a small bit of brain cells, knows that in no world would it take $300 million to build a basketball court. But the facts are that a basketball court was built. It was built, and I'm sure you hate this, B. It was built over top of the tennis court at the Yeah, but they just put up a net. They just put up a net and a goal, and there's your basketball court, Mr. President. Of course, it don't have to be NBA regulation, but it's just stuff like that you'll hear so much like misinformation, floating around. But Another renovation that Trump just unveiled was he renovated the Lincoln bathroom.
Oh,
So yeah, he did a full renovation of the Lincoln bathroom, which is attached to the Lincoln bedroom, which is a room in the White House that is used for like guests staying over.
yeah,
But Trump wanted to renovate this bathroom, and he, in his Trump style, most of the fixtures are made of gold or gold plated. It looks ugly, but I think the previous look was ugly too, just an ugly bathroom period. But once again, federal workers are not being paid, but this work is being done. It almost feels like a taunt, like to the
yeah.
country, like it almost feels like Trump is like trolling the country, or he has to have no self awareness at all, like regardless of whether or not you renovate this bathroom. Why would you display this during a time where people are not being paid? Like people don't want to
Oh,
see a new bathroom.
yeah.
It's just
What?
like he's trolling the country.
Yeah, I think he recognizes that it don't matter what he like he said a while ago during his first run that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still vote for him. And if you know that, why do you care about anything? Like, why do you care about anything? I know I'm gonna have a certain base that supports me regardless of whatever, and that base got me to be president again. And yeah, I don't care. I'm doing anything. I'm however old I am. I'm building a ballroom. I'm adding gold to the Lincoln bathroom, and I don't care. Um, but yeah, anything else or
Yeah, so the last thing I want to run through real quick is just November 11th. I mean, November 4th, I'm sorry, is election day. And
yes, very important.
all throughout the country, this is one of the smaller elections that we have. You have the presidential election, which is the biggest. Obviously, most people come out for the presidential election. And then you have the midterm election, which is the midway between the president's four years. So we'll be dealing with the midterms in 2026, which would give us an idea of whether or not the country is accepting of how Trump has been governing the last 2 years, and whether or not the people, support his cause by voting in more Republicans or more Democrats. So that's the election that most people are looking forward to. For us here in Pennsylvania, we have the retention election, and you may have gotten some advertisements that saying cast your yes or no vote, for our Pennsylvania State Supreme Court justices. So this vote that's going to be this ballot measure vote is going to be a simple question of, whether or not we should keep our current Supreme Court justices in place, or should we? So yes would be to keep our current Supreme Court in place. A no would trigger a 2-year process to elect a new judge. So judges are normally elected on a 10-year basis in Pennsylvania. This would actually turn that into a 2-year term.
Yeah.
So what does that actually mean? So in order to bring this type of vote up now is very interesting, because at this point right now, Pennsylvania is what we would consider a red state. Pennsylvania went to Donald Trump,
Yes.
which means that the majority of the counties went Republican. So right now there is a 5-3, judge. There are 5 Democratic judges and 3 Republican judges. If
Mhm.
if the vote comes down as no, now those judges will now only be on a 2-year, and now they'll have to run for office again.
Run for office, yeah.
And with the state being mostly red, means that it's a high possibility of more of these judges being Republican, just based on on it happening during a time when Republicans have most of the state. So if you do see this ballot measure, a yes vote would actually keep things the way it is, and keep those judges on a 10-year cycle. And the reason why that's important is because to vote no means that if you voted for these judges, say 5 years ago, now that means that you voted for them to have a 10-year term, and now that term is being cut short. Which is really kind of the opposite of democracy. That's meaning that now we're going to kind of change the rules, and your 10-year term is now a 4-year term. So that's something to look forward to when we do go out and vote. And I always tell people, to have a plan to vote. It's always best to vote early. In these types of elections, is normally not going to be a lot of people, but it definitely is important to get out there and vote, and make sure that that your voice is heard. And I think that in the past, when people have said that, and there's probably a time where I would hear that and I would be like, whatever. But like we say every week, if you're not political, you don't have a perspective, and your perspective is shown in being a part of the process and voting on things that matter. And if you're a person that doesn't understand at this point that these things matter, you really gotta
You're doing yourself a disservice.
Absolutely.
By not paying attention.
Yep.
That was great. Reggie, you want to close out the political perspective?
Yep. This is the political perspective. And once again, vote next Tuesday. And if you are not political, then you do not have a perspective.